Welcome, Iowa basketball postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. I'm joined by, as always, Coach Gary Close as we break down what was a very impressive victory for the Iowa Hawkeyes tonight. An 94 to 75 win over Utah State. And Gary, we talked about this, I remember a little over a week ago, Iowa coming off the loss to Iowa State. And we kind of labeled this game as a dangerous game. And we saw why in that first half. The Aggies were not intimidated by the situation. They played at the Pentagon. They've certainly played in tough environments. They came out to play in that first half, but Iowa was able to kind of ward off the initial strike from the Aggies.
Yeah, that's a good team, well-coached team. It's a team that's in the NCAA tournament often. They usually win their leg or are very close every year. So, and then you throw in the time off with final exams. You're never quite sure how you're going to play, and so I thought, understandably, they're maybe a little rusty at the beginning, but from about the 10-minute mark on, they played solid basketball, and it's a good win against a good basketball team.
Some stats that stand out, and of course, we'll get to some of the comments that I see already coming in here. The rebounding battle is something we've talked about each and every game. Of course, these last two games, it's been a struggle. Tonight, Iowa dominates 35 to 23. What did they do differently? It just seemed like they had, from my visual standpoint, they just had more of a determination to get the ball. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they just had maybe a little more of an emphasis on it and were a little more aggressive going to the glass. They shot the ball real well. So, then there's not as many offensive rebounds. So, but all in all, I think a solid effort on the glass against an experienced team and something to build on.
Absolutely. Keegan Murray, we've talked after the Iowa State game, and I kind of watched a portion of that show back, Gary, because I asked you, I said, should we be concerned about Keegan Murray? And I'm not saying that this means that he's going to be scoring 35 a game, but he gets a career high tonight, 35, and it's interesting. 17 field goal attempts. That was actually the same amount of attempts. Fix that stat there. Same amount of attempts as the game against Iowa State, where I believe he had like 9 points. So he stayed in the single figures. But again, 13 of 17. He was terrific, and he is so smooth. He seems like he's healthy now. We've talked about that. It doesn't seem like that ankle's giving him any problems.
Yeah, I think the time off probably came at a perfect time for him. Chance to rest that thing and get it to where it's, a guy that attacks the basket and is active. A bad wheel is not something you want to have. So I think to his credit, he gave it a go in some of those games after he had hurt it and probably wasn't near 100% and probably close to that now. And real strong performance by both of them. And he of course led the way.
Absolutely. Patrick McCaffrey tonight, 12 points, 5 and 9 from the field. Jordan had a nice game with 11 points, 2 of 5. And Chris continues to impress me. His outside shot is obviously probably the biggest asset to this team because they needed, heading into this year, one of the bigger questions was, where will the threes come from? And although Tony Perkins has made some here and there, I don't think any of us would claim that Tony is a three-point specialist. Right. You would say the same thing about Aaron Eulis. So how important is it that Chris can continue to shoot at this rate?
Yeah, it's another weapon. He looks like he's just his confidence is just going up and up, and that's great to see. I mean, it's he's kind of following the path that his brother did last year. Hopefully, it'll follow the same trajectory throughout the course of the year because that could be a big boost for Iowa if he can continue to play like that. It's obviously gives him another scorer off the bench and rebounder and active player and good player. So that's very encouraging.
Utah State, when I watched them, and again, I watched some tape from their game against Oklahoma down in, I believe it was South Carolina a couple of weeks ago, Myrtle Beach. They're a very disciplined team, very good offensive team. They play clean. They're not very athletic. They kind of reminded me of sort of your classic Fran McCaffrey team. Now, I could be wrong on that, Gary, but for example, these last 3 to 4 years, Iowa hasn't had a whole lot of athleticism per se, but they move the ball well. They shoot the three well, especially when they're open. that seemed to be what they do. And certainly the foul trouble on Bean was a big storyline. When he went
Yeah.
out with 4 fouls, you felt like that was kind of the nail in the coffin for them.
Yeah. That certainly hurt them. Yeah. They were on pace they had 25 points in the first 10 minutes of the game, and we're moving the ball really well and getting good shots. And to Iowa's credit, I think they shored that up a little bit through the course of the rest of the game, and that kind of fed into their transition and their offense, and so it allowed them to get a lead on them and stretch that lead and get a good win.
I know this is totally speculation, but for those of us who are still trying to gauge how impressive this win was tonight against a team from the Mountain West, and again, if you want to look at the net ratings, you and I were having this conversation before we jumped on the air. Right now, and again, I don't know where the net ratings have changed after this game, but I think they're weekly. But the last net ranking release had Utah State, I believe, 32 and Iowa 31. Maybe I'm having that switched around. I don't know that stat, but this is a quad 1 win. And you can say, well, who cares about that this early? It is important in March. The committee will look at this as a quad 1 win on a neutral court, even though this in reality was a home game for Iowa. Here's what I'll say. This is a sort of a negative comment, and it's not in regards to this team. I'm disappointed that this was the best home environment that Iowa's had all year, and it had to come in Sioux Falls. And I understand it's a smaller arena. It doesn't take as much to sell out. But, Gary, that place was rocking, and we've had, 7-8 games in Carver, and nothing close to that atmosphere that we had tonight.
Yeah, well, and you got Hawkeye fans that probably don't get a chance to see them play much that far away, and so it's their time to get an opportunity to see them up close, and so you can see why they're all jacked up. But it was a nice turnout. It helped. I think it was kind of gives you an example of how they travel, and I'm sure the team appreciated it. It's kind of neat to haven't played in a week and you come out there and you're playing on neutral court and you see a lot of black and gold and some enthusiasm. So I think it played a role in how well they played.
Have you coached at the Pentagon before, Gary?
Yeah, we had one game at Wisconsin. In fact, we played the first game there. Quite a long time ago, and it's a neat little place. It makes you appreciate getting the opportunity to play there. I'm sure they enjoyed it as well. It's a fun atmosphere and a fun little arena.
Yeah, a lot of people happy tonight, and there was some frustration after last Thursday's performance against Iowa State, because Iowa State really dominated Iowa physically, pushed Iowa around, and that's kind of how Iowa State plays. Now, Utah State doesn't seem to be that type of team. I in our little preview that I put out before this game earlier this morning, I brought up the fact that this is not your most athletic team in the world, but again, they move the ball well. Iowa's pick and roll defense really, or I guess you could say ball screen defense, I guess that's a proper term for it, was really porous early. What did they do to fix that heading into the second half? Because it seemed to improve as the game went on.
Yeah, I think they did a little more switching because the picking and popping was hurting when they were hedging and couldn't get back. And then in some cases they got to turn a corner, hit the roll guy. And because, when they play the Murrays, they're all kind of about the same height. They can get away with switching a little bit more. And so I think they did. I think that was a good call, and I think it did help.
So I do have the official box score from the university here. And I'll tell you this, so just scrolling through the stats, and again, I know we talked about Keegan, we talked about Chris. I'm growing more and more impressed with Aaron Eulis, and I know he made a couple mistakes tonight, but his hustle, and he's got good vision. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's too early to say this, but I think the future is really good at point guard for Iowa. I know Joe Toussaint is still erratic at times. He'll make a play and then he's out of control. By the way, I'll say this. I've never seen a point guard. I know nobody wants to hear this. I've never seen a kid get away with traveling as much as I see Joe Toussaint get away with traveling. He's constant.
His feet are so quick they can't tell.
he's constantly switching his pivot foot, but I digress. But I was just impressed with Aaron Eulis, and of course Iowa gets another highly recruited point guard in next year in Desante Bowen. But it seems that right now the system with Jordan playing at the 2, although at times he disappears, it seems like it's working, having Joe and Aaron run that 1. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No, they're both they both need to continue to develop. They're young. They're young in a lot of ways, and it's going to be fun to see just how much better they can get. But I like the way they're playing, and with the experience, I think they'll play better. So I agree with you. I think they both got a chance. So it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on how quickly they can develop and cut down their mistakes and continue to add things to their game.
Our caller line is open. If you want to give us a call, 515-635-1601, 515-635-1601. We're talking about Iowa's impressive 94-75 victory. And it's amazing that first half, I walked away thinking Iowa shot the ball 69% in the first half, and yet it had an 8-point lead. And again, I've always, I accept the fact that I am a pessimistic fan at heart, and I fight that a lot. But I'm sitting here thinking, good Lord, we scored 51 points. We shot 69% from the field, and we're only up by 8 because we didn't play good defense in that first half. We rebounded the ball well, but just didn't play good. Too many open looks, too many easy looks around the basket. But again, that second half, Iowa really fixed things defensively, it seemed like, and held the Aggies to 32 points. I do want to bring up here a comment from, let me find it here, James Hemmer. He brings up, he says, great win. They played so well as a team. Press worked really well. We rebounded really well. Just seemed to be playing with a lot of energy and effort. How big, you alluded to it, especially with Keegan and getting that week off, or a little over a week, about 9 days off. And I know there were finals going on, and I'm sure they practiced during that stretch as well. But how big was that? I just think the timing, it lined up with the struggles and what they needed. Again, because they had played some really tough competition, especially in the Big Ten. You start with Purdue and Illinois, who might be the two hottest teams in the conference, and a really tough environment at Hilton. Yeah,
they just had a lot of tough games back to back to back, and traveling a little bit and playing. In both Illinois and Purdue, you're playing physical teams, and you're a little banged up, and then you go through finals, and practices are always disjointed. Some guys got a test and some don't, and you very rarely get everybody together, and they're tired, and so you never know how you're going to play after the end of a finals week. And you see during this time of the year, you see upsets because teams are not playing at the top of their game because of the break. Right now Baylor's having a tough game against Oregon. There's some top 25 teams that have lost. Wisconsin struggled to beat an average team. Or you see teams schedule really easy games because they know they're not going to be at their top of the game because of the break. So for Iowa to play as well as they did against the solid team is a good sign.
Absolutely. And I knew this was going to come. Doug says Aaron Eulis is the best point guard on the team. Hyperlocal says Eulis should be starting over Joe T. Fran is not a guy who is going to mess with that starting lineup very much, Gary. I've even suggested at times that perhaps Tony would be in a position to start over or Jordan, and perhaps that would help. But does it matter? I know you've talked about it's more important that the best guys get the most minutes, and I think that for the most part is happening. I'll have to look at the minutes for Joe T and Aaron Eulis, but how is that a factor?
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge difference between any of them. In some games, one of them plays better than the other. We're not seeing them in practice and how they're doing there, which has got to be a factor. So it's not like there's a decided advantage by any of those three, and they all bring different things to the table. And I think what coach will do is he'll go with a hot hand, and it's nice he's got some options, and you want to continue to show confidence in all of them so they'll continue to improve, and you don't want to be one of those guys that just yanking people in and out because they have a rough few minutes or a rough game, because that doesn't build confidence. So Joe's been around a little bit. He's probably the most experienced of the three, and has had his moments, so I understand what he's doing with all three of them.
Let's go ahead and take our caller. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa basketball postgame. Who's on the line?
This is David from Indiana.
Hey, David from Indiana. How are you?
All right. How are you?
We're good.
Good. Hey, I had a question for Coach Gary. What I noticed in the first half, honestly, a lot was on our offense. When we were in the man-to-man offense, I didn't see a lot of cutting, moving. I saw like Rebracha come up, set a pick, and the guard would go around, but then he would dribble, and then nobody else was moving. There's no cuts, nothing. What's going on there? I just think when a man-to-man is even more motion, the more open shots.
Yeah, I think it got better as the game went on. I think much like their defense, I think they just it's been a while, and a lot of times when your timing's off and you're a little bit rusty, you start standing around watching. Cuts aren't as crisp, passes aren't on the money, and things like that. I think the good news is it got better as the game went on, which is what you want to. You kind of expect them to be a little off in the beginning, just because they haven't played anybody and probably haven't played a whole lot of 5-on-5 even amongst themselves much. It's just finals week is it's a mess in terms of practice goes. So you're hoping that as the game goes on, they get sharper, and I thought they did at both ends of the court, which is a sign of a good team that continues to progress and get better.
Yeah, I think on our defense helped out a lot in the second half. We were coming up with a lot of steals, getting the rebounds, and that was pushing us to run, which our team likes to do. It just seems like we do when we don't have the opportunity to run. And it wasn't just this game, and I understand rust and all that, but it seems like in other games, when the other team gets back and sets their defense and they press us in that man-to-man defense, Iowa just seems to have a hard time getting good looks, getting shots. We do a lot of dribbling around, one person dribbling it and nobody really moving. I just didn't know if that was something that hopefully can improve over the years or
yeah, certainly was the case in the Iowa State game. I think they definitely over dribbled, and I'm sure that was an emphasis. And to get transition baskets, you got to get stops and you got to get rebounds. It's hard to run if you're getting the ball out of your net. As the game went on, that got better, and they rebounded pretty well the whole entire game. So, and they took advantage of Utah State being a little slow getting back and getting their defense set. So, but what you got to, if you're a good team, you got to be able to score in a half court, because you're going to be playing teams that will be better than them and getting back and getting their transition set. And so your ability to be able to score in transition, but then also to score in a half court, at least get good shots, is going to be important, especially as you get back into league play. But for being off as long as they were. Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to say, it was just good to see Keegan back. It looks like he's at full strength.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. And Chris is coming up strong. I think our team is coming along strong, and I'll be happy to play Illinois again at the end of the season and see how we do better that time. So of that, let you guys go. Have a good night, guys.
Appreciate the call. Appreciate the comments too. And I think the caller makes a valid point. And let me just add to that too, Gary, talking about offensive fluidity. Doesn't help when Keegan Murray A doesn't play against Purdue and B doesn't seem to be 100% against Iowa State and Illinois. And
when your best player's out, it's a hole, and he has been a big part of their offense. He's scoring a lot of points and doing a lot of things, and then he attracts a lot of attention, which can get other people even better looks. So he looked different. He looked in a much better physical condition. He looked active and quicker and more explosive, and I'm sure the week off really helped in his regard.
And again, not to make excuses, but if you look at that, Iowa hasn't had a game where it's really struggled offensively with a healthy Keegan Murray. So, Virginia, we talked about that pack line defense.
Yep.
They really played well against that defense. They played well against the Utah State defense. I know totally different levels there, but Iowa has not struggled offensively throughout an entire game. And they really didn't struggle offensively against Purdue or Illinois either. They struggled. They've only really had one game where they struggled. You brought it up against Iowa State. And, you get a healthy Keegan. And again, I think we're going to look back at that game later in the season and say, well, I'm already saying it. That's just a really good Iowa State defense. It's not something we're used to seeing. Even the good Iowa State teams have not played that physical and that tough on the defensive end.
No, I agree. And they've proven it. They're still undefeated, right? I don't think anybody's knocked them off. No. They're probably in finals too, so they haven't played much, but they're off to a great start and had Iowa at home, and so it's if you can learn by those games and what you did wrong and where you need to improve, then it can help you down the road. And hopefully that's what's happened there.
I thought this was just interesting. 3 days after Iowa loses to Iowa State by 20, and they give up 73 to Iowa State. I don't know if you caught this, and of course I'm aware of it because I live here in Ames. Iowa State beat Jackson State. I don't know if you saw the score of that one, Gary, but Jackson State, for just as a reference, is 2-7 on the season, and Iowa State beat them 47-37. Sort of an odd score there, but regardless, the defense shows up every night for the Cyclones, and they held Creighton.
It's lucky they did that night, or they might have lost.
Yeah,
that's probably you beat Iowa in a big game, and you got to turn around and play Jackson State. You're probably anticipating a letdown, and sounds like it might have happened.
47 points at home to Jackson State. So, anybody wants a reference or a proof of we were talking about minutes and who's starting. Joe Toussaint, 18 minutes, 28 seconds tonight. Aaron Eulis, 19 minutes, 23. So it's going to play out that way, right? If they're both playing at the same level, they deserve the same number of minutes. Yeah,
like we said, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between the two of them. I think you go with the hot hand, and it's nice. You keep guy in there that's fresh and get after it, and brings you a little bit of a different dimension. And they're it's all about winning. That's the bottom line. It's all about winning. And so the group looks like they've got great chemistry, and they don't care who's in there and who's scoring. They just want to score more than the other team. And that bodes well for the future.
All right. You're not going to get fined for expressing your opinion like you did. You would have been in that position when you were coaching. Not the flagrant. We'll get to that. The technical foul early. I think it's probably too early. It was a little surprising to me because Fran was asking for it. I mean, you could watch him on the sideline. He deserved it. He was going at it pretty good. But I'm just surprised at the timing of that. Were you surprised that he decided to, because he decided it was a conscious thing, I think. I'm going to get a technical foul here.
Yeah, or maybe just something he said just didn't quite ring well with what the official. That guy, he's got a bit of a he's got pretty good ears. That official, he's been known to ring some people up. So maybe it's the small guy syndrome. They gotta show they're tough or whatever the case may be. But who knows? We got through it. So
it was a bad call, though, right? I mean, it was a bad.
I thought it was a bad call. I thought he was moving. Yeah, I did. I thought it was a bad call.
All right, let's get to our next caller. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa basketball postgame. Who's on the line?
Alex, with Keegan Murray getting his career high, what does this mean for Iowa going forward?
As far as upside or
upside?
How good can this team be with a healthy Keegan, Gary?
Well, you look at teams that are successful, and they've got players like that that can bail them out when they need a bucket, and so he's important. There's no question about it. And his game is really, really improving, getting to another level. And just a lot of teams don't have players like that. So when you have one, that's pretty neat. And it looks like his brother's kind of following the same path. And then there's complementary players around him that can do some things. So if he can keep doing what he's doing, he's a handful, and that's a huge advantage to have. Talent is talent. The more talent you can acquire, the better. And he's a very talented kid playing with a lot of confidence. So, as a coach, when you got somebody like that going into a game, it makes you feel a lot better.
And this team's only going to improve. I don't see this team peaking early. It's young. Again, a lot of athletes. You brought up the development of guys like Chris, and you can go around the panel there. And hopefully guys like Peyton Sandfort will take steps forward because he's got some physical traits. I mean, he's 6'7", 6'8", and his ability to shoot at that size, I think, can be effective as well. So I think a lot of upside. We'll just see where it takes us, Alex.
All right. Thank you so much for the call.
Appreciate the time.
I think the big thing will be, I don't think Iowa's going to have a problem scoring in most cases. They may have some nights where they don't shoot it real well. The key to the season is going to be how much they can improve on the defensive end and rebounding. If they can continue to get better in that regard, then they got a chance to be a real good basketball team.
The real Hayden here. He says, "Me and Corey are the same person. Such a pessimistic fan." Yeah, I try to try to not be that.
You guys got to lighten up. It's Christmas season. My goodness, these guys just went through a week of finals. You guys remember when you were taking finals?
So after finals, everything should be positive. You're done with finals, and they're going to have some time off.
And you're tired. You've been up late at night and things like cramming and stuff like that. And then you got to go out all of a sudden play a game, and you're a little out of shape. And so that's why crazy things happen during finals week. You got to be careful scheduling during finals week.
Yeah.
We played one year. We played finals at Wisconsin, and we played at North Dakota or North Dakota State, and we were just god awful and got beat. And you just got to be really careful. It's a tough time of the year for a lot of reasons, and so that makes this one all the more impressive. I thought it would be a close game. I really did, and for them beating bad as they did. Now maybe Utah State was going through finals too, and it hit them a little bit harder, but it's a nice win. It's a really, really nice win.
I will say this about Utah State. I don't know how many Utah State fans were watching the broadcast because their football team was playing in the bowl game on ABC.
Yeah, it was a good night for Utah State. Hopefully they won to give them some positive.
I guess I could check that for any Aggie fans on here. I want to give everybody an update on the. You brought up the Baylor game. Let me give people an update on the Baylor Bears. So it looks like they're going to pull it out. They were trailing much of that game. It's 74-67 with just over a minute to play.
Okay.
In that one. But you're right. There have been some really close games.
Auburn struggled tonight. They had to win at the buzzer. UConn got beat. I think Arkansas got beat.
That Providence team that we keep bringing up.
Providence is a good team, yeah. So that's not a terrible loss, but I think UConn was at home.
You're right.
Arkansas got beat. There were some other close games.
Alabama was scared by Jacksonville State.
Yep. So there's and then some team, Florida. I think Florida got beat by a very average team by like 15. So it's this time of the year that happens. Like I said, you see some of those, or you see teams play those schools that got those long names to them that you don't even know where they're from, and they can get an easy win because they know it's going to be tough.
For anybody that wanted an update on Utah State football, they did beat Oregon State. So the Aggies, it wasn't all loss for Utah State tonight, 24-13 in the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. Are you a bowl game guy, Gary? You sit around watching bowl games?
I like to watch the bowls. Not as much this time of the year. When it gets down to the big bowls, I've gotten a chance to go to a few bowl games. It was fun. I went to an Iowa bowl game when we were out in California, the Holiday Bowl one year. That was fun. Okay. Yeah, I like it. It's a great time of the year.
Circle Herc here. Basketball team doing their best impression of their football counterparts. Looks like defensive ball hawks out there setting the tone. Well, that would be great. I don't know that I go that far, Circle Herc. I think this team's got a ways to go still defensively, but it was good to see adjustments at halftime. Again, even if it was just a matter of, a clear. And is that a situation, Gary, where a coach can just say, "Look, we're switching on every ball screen"? Because you're going to
possibly, yeah, yep, yeah, we're going to try that, and yep, there's no doubt, yeah. I think the good news is they got better as the game went on. They just, and that's not a bad offensive team. In fact, they've got some weapons. So I think they had 25 points in the first 10 minutes of the game. I think I was thinking with something, God, they're on a pace to score 100 points here. And what did they finish with? They finished with 75. So they had 50 in the last 30 minutes of the game. So that's pretty solid. So it got better as the game went on. And we most people talk about offense being rusty coming out of a break. Defense is the same way. It takes time to get your timing down and working as a unit. And I thought they got better as the game went on, which was a good thing to see.
The real Hayden brings up Joe Toussaint. Seems like he's running to spots without purpose, getting stuck or trapped near the paint. He did it a lot as a freshman, still does it too much for my liking. Patrick McCaffrey does it too. The difference with PMAC, he makes some really unorthodox shots. And oftentimes, I look at Patrick McCaffrey, Gary, and I say, why are you taking that shot? Oh, it went in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as long as they go in, that's the big thing. Joe does get himself in a little bit of trouble over dribbling, leaving his feet, things like that. That point guards got to learn how to do, and that's as we talk about improving, that's what we're talking about. Taking it in the right spots, getting out of trouble, things like that. Smart point guards learn to do as they develop. So hopefully that'll be the case with him.
And Hyperlocal brings up, he says, go back and watch Iowa State. Iowa played very bad. So many shots normally that they make, too much energy in Hilton. Hope we see them again. I think a lot of that is you just got to give Iowa State credit. Keegan Murray, it's clear. And I'm not saying I didn't believe you, Gary, but when you said it doesn't look like he's healthy, tonight, the way he played tonight, and I know it's a totally different team that they faced off against tonight, but that was proof to me that he there was no way he was 100% against Illinois.
Yeah, I don't think so. And it's enough to throw you off a little bit. And then Iowa State did a good job on them, and they're a good defensive team. So I think it was a combination of both. But I do think he looked a little fresher, a little quicker, a little more active than he did at Iowa State for sure tonight.
All right. Iowa, Southeastern Louisiana coming up on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. So it's an opportunity for Iowa. We talked about this stretch. So you've got, of course, Utah State now out of the way. They get Southeastern Louisiana, and then they get a pesky Western Illinois team. And I know you don't want to overlook either one of those games because I think we brought this up before. Western Illinois is 9-2. They have, they nearly knocked off DePaul. They beat Nebraska in Lincoln. So there is some, I would think that would get, I know Nebraska's, I don't want to call them bottom feeders, but they're not, Purdue or Maryland or Purdue and Illinois, but that's got to get the players' attention, does it not?
Oh, you would think so. Rob Jeter's the coach at Western Illinois. I coached with him. He's a good coach. So they'll be well coached. They'll be well prepared. It's another deal where you had a break. That'll be for Christmas. So, you might have a little too much turkey. How much practice time do you get? It's another game as a coach you just worry about. It's not, you just want to get through it and not get hurt, play better. And because the Big Ten is right around the corner. And that's when you want to be playing your best basketball. So I think their non-conference schedule was a good one. They had, they got themselves some confidence early. Then they got a stretch where they found out what they needed to work on. They played good competition, helped their strength of schedule. Got a couple games here to iron out some things, and then the Big Ten is looming not too far down the road. So hopefully they'll be healthy and playing pretty good basketball because the gauntlet starts and then it doesn't let up.
You must be a big turkey fan because I think you brought that up a couple times.
Oh, I love turkey. How can you not like turkey? Love it.
I had a turkey leg at the Iowa State Fair this year, and I thought, why did I just spend $9 on this? I don't know if it's just different.
I like white meat. I'm more of a white meat guy.
Okay, well, I'm a chicken. I like chicken. I stick with chicken, but final question before we go here. And by the way, I do want to add this. Will Carius, I know Iowa has played Western Illinois in past seasons. Will Carius is a Bettendorf kid. He's Western Illinois' lead scorer. So sort of a couple interesting storylines there as well.
Yeah.
Surprise team in the Big Ten. We've had over a month now to kind of see what these different teams are doing and where they stand. And I'll give my answer to this question, but I'd be interested to get your take on this. Surprise team so far in the Big Ten, Gary.
Well, there have been a few of them. I'd say if I had to pick one, I think it might be Minnesota.
That's exactly
because they lost a lot of players. They beat Michigan in Michigan. That was a real eye opener. They're playing really good basketball, and so I would say if I had to pick one, and there's some good candidates. Iowa being one of them. Wisconsin got a huge win over Houston, although they barely beat Alcorn State, or they played the other night. But if I had to pick one, I think it'd be Minnesota with all they lost and a new coach to win at Michigan. I know Michigan's not playing great right now, but that's still. There won't be a lot of teams that will go into Michigan and win, and they've already done it.
I'll add to that in a second. Let's go ahead and take our call. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Circle Herc.
Circle Herc, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How you doing, man?
We're doing all right. We're happy about the win tonight.
You got your Christmas shopping done?
Well, that's what I need to ask you, both you guys here, since you're such a big fan of turkey. Christmas is coming up. Turkey or ham? What do you guys say?
Oh, turkey.
Turkey?
Yeah, I know that's probably bad to say in Iowa, but
Not a honey ham?
well, you can't be on the fence. You got to pick one or the other. If I had to pick one, I'm going to go with turkey, but it's close.
Like I told you
I think Corey's going to go with chicken. He's not even going to even mention.
Well, I won't be eating either on Christmas Day, but I will say this: the turkey experience at the fair really turned me off for turkey. I just not now. I had a turkey dinner the other day that was I don't even know where we got it, but I think a friend brought it over. But
Potatoes and green bean casserole.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Oh my goodness!
But not on the leg. And they always talk about how great the state fair turkey legs are. I didn't even finish it. I threw it in the trash.
Oh, hope nobody saw
It
you.
was ridiculous. Are you a turkey fan, Circle Arc?
No, he's ham.
You know what?
Oh, he's a ham.
You put it in front of me, baby, I'm going to eat it. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I'm going to eat it, but no, the
turkey size, little green bean casserole, little potatoes. What are you talking about? Corn casserole? Come on now.
Corey, you know the difference between stuffing and dressing?
Oh.
Do I know the difference? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what dressing is then, because I'm picturing two totally different things. I like stuffing. What's dressing?
What are you picturing?
Well, I'm picturing. I don't even know what stuffing is made of, but I'm picturing stuffing. I eat it with a spoon, but I don't know what dressing. I'm picturing like a liquid. What's dressing?
Stuffing and dressing are the same thing. Just stuffing was stuffed in the turkey to cook rather than being cooked outside of the turkey.
Oh, so technically, what I ate was probably dressing.
Yeah, if it wasn't in the turkey, cooking,
it wasn't in the turkey,
then it was dressing, not stuffing.
Oh, glad that. See, this is why I love having Gary on here, because he just provides insight to no end.
I might be wrong, but that's what I heard.
Okay,
so I'm sticking to it.
Anything basketball related, Sir Clark?
Corey, you don't have all your Christmas shopping done.
What's that?
Yeah, I can tell you don't have all your Christmas shopping.
I'm not a Christmas guy, so I don't have any Christmas. I'm not a Christmas guy, so I don't have any Christmas shopping I've got to do. I will say this: the whole discussion about what, like, bowl season. We're talking about what we eat during bowl season. What did our caller? Is our caller still on the line? Are you still on the call? Yeah, you're still on the line, Sir Clark.
So.
You're still there, aren't you? I think he dropped off.
No. You bet. I'm here.
Oh, you're there. You're just waiting patiently. I will say my event, not necessarily any special event. I know you guys brought up Christmas or whatever, but my special meal to eat during any event would be a plate full of super nachos. Okay. Just a huge plate of super nachos, and it can have whatever meat. If you want to put chicken on it, you want to put beef on it, pork. I don't care what it is. What's that?
Turkey leg.
Turkey leg in the middle of a plate of chips. But my point is, I'm not a picky eater, but I'm not a big turkey leg guy. It just turned me off, Circle Arc.
Hey, I get it. You know what, guys? Thanks for playing along. Thanks for taking my call, Coach.
All right, you bet. Happy Christmas.
Those are the types of questions, Gary. That's why you're here.
I know it. That's all that experience has helped me with that question. The
hardcore, tough questions to answer. So
there you go.
All right. Let me see if the real Hayden sums it up here. Gary knows everything.
There you go.
So
I like Hayden.
Back to my original question about the surprise team. I was going to say the same thing you did, Gary. Minnesota, they beat Michigan on the road and did so by double figures.
Yeah.
And it's a Minnesota team who has not been real impressive at any other point in the season. They beat Kansas City by 15. They squeaked by Western Kentucky by 4. They beat Princeton in double OT. They beat Jacksonville, but only score 55 and win by 11, beat Pittsburgh by 1. But here's the common theme there, Gary. They're winning all those games.
They're winning. Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
They wouldn't have done that in the past. They'd have 3 or 4 losses. They'd just figure out a way to lose.
You're right. And then they beat one. I forgot Mississippi State. They went on the road, win that by 5, and only lost to Michigan State. Good Michigan State team by 8. That's a good Minnesota team, and I'm surprised. And his name is escaping me. The new Minnesota head coach,
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. I'm impressed by what he's done there. It's incredible.
The big thing for him will be whether he can keep all that talent in state. They've traditionally not done a great job of that. I mean, we see Minnesota players all over the country. That's a really good high school area for basketball. Wisconsin has made a living up there. So his ability to keep the best players or get his share of them to stay at home will be huge. And if he can do that, then he can turn that thing around in a hurry because there's some players up there.
Absolutely. And again, they've done it with transfers. That was a depleted roster.
Mm-hmm.
And credit to Ben Johnson, what he's been able to do. And I'll just say this, it kind of makes me nervous because Minnesota was one of those games on the schedule that you look at and say, that's one of the more winnable games in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at who would you favor? I'm not saying Iowa can't beat anybody, but I'm just saying there are not going to be any nights off. I thought there might be a couple of those this year, especially with Turgeon stepping down. But, Maryland bounced back with a nice win the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they beat? Florida. They went out and beat Florida the other night, which was impressive.
Yep.
Northwestern, on the other hand, they beat Maryland. Northwestern is 1-0 in the Big Ten. Penn State and Nebraska seem like, and they're kind of perennial bottom feeders.
Yeah, I think those are the two that'll fight it out for that, but you never know. I think the other thing will be like a team like Minnesota or a team like Northwestern. You lose 2 or 3 games in a row. Can you find a way to not make it 5 or 6? Because the league can do that to you. That's why that win at Michigan was impressive. I mean, that's a big win after losing at home. But that you get into the league and you can get into a losing streak in a hurry, especially for a team like Minnesota is trying to find their way. And so I think that'll be the key. They get a couple L's. Can they turn it around, or will it turn into a 4 or 5 or 6 game losing streak? And then it can get discouraging.
Right now, if you had to ask me the top 3 teams in the Big Ten right now, we'll see if you agree with my top 3. Purdue looked, again, really good today against Butler. They went through that little stretch where they kind of struggled for a couple of games, but boy, they just decimated.
They could have lost 2 in a row. They were lucky to escape. Who'd they escape with in New York after losing to Rutgers?
Could have lost 3 in a row.
Was that, yeah. But they found a way. That's a sign of a good team.
Absolutely. My top 3 teams right now: Purdue. I'd probably go Ohio State, and then Illinois. Ohio State looked really good against your Wisconsin Badgers.
Yes, they did. And they beat Duke.
They beat Duke. Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree with you. I think those 2 for sure, and probably Illinois. I think Michigan State would be right there on the periphery. They're playing pretty good as well. So going to be a hell of a race.
Yeah, Michigan State's right there. I think Michigan. If I had to.
You're freezing.
Am I back now?
You're back.
Okay.
I think it's the turkey. I think it's that turkey leg. They're getting back at you.
I know what to get. I know. I was going to get you something for helping us out with this show, Gary. I'm going to get you a turkey. Whole turkey, basted, prepared.
I got to tell you a story, friend. Hawkeye fans will like this. Hayden reminded me of Hayden Fry.
Okay.
I used to go on iClubs with Hayden Fry, and he loved salt roasted peanuts, planters in the plant. Oh, he loved those things, but he always said you got to eat them one at a time. And he would just take out one at a time. And he absolutely loved those babies. They had to be on the plane before we took off to go to an iClub.
Interesting.
Yep.
So what's the, do you know what the Ferentz thing is? I mean, I know you didn't coach with, no,
I never got to go to an iClub with Kirk, so I don't know. It was usually the assistant coaches would go with the head coach. So the basketball assistant would go with head football coach, and the football assistant would go with head basketball coach. So,
okay, tell us the oddest or quirkiest thing you know about Bo Ryan before we go.
Quirkiest thing about Bo Ryan, man, put me on the spot.
put his socks on inside out, or?
No, he was a very routine kind of guy. That's for sure.
No nonsense.
I think it's not really quirky, but you talk about preparation and walkthroughs. He never came to a walkthrough at home. So the day of the game, we had shooting practice. We never. It was just I don't want to say it was optional, but the assistant coach would be there to just work people out, and the players were kind of on their own. So there was no walkthrough. There was no scheduled practice, which I'm guessing there's no Division I team in the country that does that. And that was just kind of his. He just didn't believe in walkthroughs, and that was his routine game day of not coming in for that. So, and the way we played at home was probably a good call. So quirky. I'll have to come up with something quirky for down the road.
Okay. Are you concerned about Wisconsin now with Wisconsin or the Ohio State game? The narrative, I've watched a little bit of that game, and the narrative from Robbie Hummel. And by the way, let me just say this: I respect Robbie Hummel. I get tired of him listening to him on the television. To me, that's just me. Get tired of hearing him. Just say that. But he knows what he's talking about.
Well, he is a good player.
Yeah, and he was an excellent player and just derailed by injuries. But the offensive struggles, you take away Johnny Davis, and Wisconsin struggles to score the basketball. Yeah,
they do. The question is, can you take him away when he's on the court? The only way they've taken him away so far is when he hasn't been on the court, because he's either been sick or hurt. So when he's been on the court, they haven't lost. Davis has provided some points, but everybody's got some things they got to work on, and they definitely need to find some other scoring, because if those guys have off nights, then they're going to struggle. But they play good enough defense and they take care of the ball that they're usually in games. That's why that win by Ohio State was impressive, because they kind of ran away with that the last 10, 15 minutes or so. So hats off to them.
Okay, so Southeast Louisiana, Iowa, their next opponent.
Is that the Raging Cajuns?
No, that's Louisiana Lafayette. Who's playing?
What are these guys? You don't know.
I have no idea.
Oh,
Southeast. I'm sure somebody will throw it up in the chat here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Right. Their logo is just a picture of an outline of Louisiana with.
They might like turkey legs down there.
If you're from Louisiana, you're more of a.
Yeah, gumbo.
You're from what? You're what?
Gumbo and Creole food, stuff like that.
Well, Cajun food, right?
Cajun food, yeah. That's good stuff.
Southeast Louisiana plays Iowa State here in Ames tomorrow. So we'll get a look at them early.
Oh, there you go.
See what they do against the Cyclones. They just lost to Louisville by, 26 points. And the only other, I haven't played another Power 5 team. Common opponent, they lost to Western Michigan by 4 in overtime, which I think Iowa beat Western Michigan by like 40. And Ryan's got the answer here for you. The Lions.
The Lions.
They're the Lions. So
thank you, Ryan.
They're anything like the Detroit Lions, we're in good shape.
We're fine. Dang. There may not be any all the way it's going. Gee, many Christmas. I can't watch my Eagles tomorrow. They got suspended till Tuesday. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You're an Eagles fan.
Yeah, I grew up just outside of Philly.
Okay, you're kind of, you and Fran have some things in common.
Oh yeah, we're diehards.
All right, so next time you come down to Iowa, you need to show me where to get a good Philly, because I love Phillies, but I've always been told that I don't really know what a good Philly is, because I go to Jack's. What?
Cheesesteak, you mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In Iowa?
There probably isn't a real place in Iowa.
Unless they got a Jersey Mike's.
Oh, no, we have a Jersey Mike's. We love Jersey Mike's.
I go to Jersey Mike's and order the cheesesteak, and that's about as close as you're going to get, but it's
really?
It's not.
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same, but it's as close as you can get.
So if I recall, Circle Herc is from right around here in Ames, or at least in this area. He might know who the place I'm talking about. There's a guy that has it's a food truck / food stand. He's been in Ames forever, but it's called the Cheesesteak Factory.
Oh,
well, and it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
See, I don't know how to rate it because I've never had a true Philly from Philadelphia.
Well, you should bring one in for the show and show me. I can take a look at it. A lot of it got to do with a roll. It's got to be a really good roll.
Okay.
If you have a skinny roll or not a very big roll or a hard roll, then that's the roll is a key. That's
so do you
like
do you like Pepper Jacks?
Pepper Jacks?
Have you been to Pepper Jack's Steakhouse?
No,
before?
no, I haven't.
Really?
No.
Yeah, no, they're all Philly. That's what they do. That's their shtick is Phillies.
Is that in Iowa? Is that just in Iowa? I've never heard of it.
No, I think that's a nationwide chain.
Pepper Jacks?
I mean,
they don't have any in Wisconsin, I don't think.
Really?
But Packer fans are here, so maybe they don't want them.
We got to figure this out before we go because we have one in here in Ames, and they're really besides the.
Do they have one in Iowa City?
I would have to think. I don't know if I'm going to tell you here in a second. All right, I'm on their website. So you're in Wisconsin. Let me just see if there's any in Wisconsin. I'm curious. Yeah, no nearby stores. I'll check Iowa City. So yeah, I don't think they're just an Iowa chain. Yeah, there's one in Cedar Rapids. There is not one in Iowa City. There's one in Cedar Rapids.
Maybe you should start one.
They're not that good.
Okay.
They're good.
Now the truth comes out.
When you don't have many options, like I said, I'm a big Philly guy, but it's kind of like
try Jersey Mike's. It's not bad.
Oh no, I've had it. In fact, that was the first.
What do you get at Jersey Mike's? What do you get?
Philly. I get the Philly. See when I had my surgery, the night we had my surgery, some friends of ours brought us Jersey Mike's, and I had them get me they have a bunch of different Philly sandwiches, little variations, one with Chipotle ranch and this, and I don't remember which one I had, but I'm not a big, I want it to be steak. I don't want it to be the chicken.
Yeah. No. It's cheesesteak. Yeah.
So that's how I am. Yeah. But I got something special in that. I can't remember if it was Chipotle ranch or something different in my sandwich, but it was good. I've never had a bad sandwich from Jersey Mike's. My wife is actually the one. I had never had a Jersey Mike's before. There's one in Des Moines. We just got ours here in Ames a year ago. So it's sort of a new thing, but it's excellent.
It's not bad. Their Italian is, a true Italian hoagie. Their Italian is pretty close. Got the oil and the oregano, all that, the spices and stuff. It's pretty close. Not bad.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out here. I'll get back to you on this. I'm trying to find the nearest Pepper Jacks to you, but there's not. Probably Ames. Well, Cedar Rapids. Do you drive when you come down? Which way do you come through Cedar Rapids? Don't you?
No. I go.
You go the other way.
I go down one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All the way down. Does that go into? I don't even know.
There's a Jersey Mike's on right there. Where is it? Somewhere on our route. I can't remember. Oh, I tell you where it is. No, my wife lives in Marshtown, so when we go there, we do go through Cedar Rapids. There's a Jersey Mike's in Marion, home of the Bohannons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, you need to go to Pepper Jack's when you're going through Cedar Rapids because.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see. I'm looking around and I don't see anything. There's nothing in Wisconsin, so I'll have to find it. It's good. It's not Jersey Mike's good, but it is decent. They've good fries. If you like good waffle fries, they've got excellent waffle fries. But anyways, they're supposed to specialize in Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. So
okay,
yeah. I'm sure
it's all about the roll. It's all about the roll.
It's all about the roll. All right. Eric says there's Pepper Jacks in Sioux Falls. And he says that he loves the Philly at Jersey Mike's. Well, we're all on the same page, and I'm sure, especially the people who. I want to remind everybody, if you haven't listened or you're listening now, you didn't maybe miss the beginning of the show or whatever. This podcast is available on demand from the Hawkeye of the Storm. On
what could people Spotify. Be doing other than listening and watching us right now?
Well, especially 11:25 at night.
I thought Hawkeye fans were true Hawkeyes fans. I can't believe the phone's not ringing off the hook.
Yeah, you haven't gotten a call for like the last 25 minutes. I wonder why that is.
I'm gonna have to have my wife and kids call.
We still got 41. We still got 43 people on here, Gary. So apparently people.
They're scared
the numbers
to call.
we were down in the 30s there for a while, and our numbers have gone back up as we started talking about Philly.
As soon as we get a game where it's a logical time, it's going to go through the roof.
So next time we're on, we'll talk about pizza, and perhaps that will help. So
okay.
All right. Tuesday night, Iowa, Southeastern Louisiana, the Battle of the Hawks versus the Lions at 7 p.m. Central Time, BTN Plus. Maybe there's 2 games. I think that one and the Western Illinois game might be BTN Plus games. I don't know. I know this one's BTN Plus and an opportunity for Iowa to get another win. Just get ready for Big Ten play, because it's going to come fast and hard, and got to win some Big Ten games because you're behind the 8 ball at 0-2 already, Gary.
Yep, they're gonna have to get some wins in the Big Ten to prove that resume and be able to play in the middle of March. That's the goal. So compete for a championship and play in March. So you gotta get some wins. Anything
else to add on the Hawks? Sandwiches, turkey legs?
I think it was a good win for the Hawks. That's tough loss at Iowa State. They bounced back. That's a sign of a good team, because that was not a bad team that they made look pretty bad. So I'll be curious to see how Utah State finishes the year. I'll bet you don't be shocked if they have a pretty good record, and they might be back in the NCAA tournament. So you might look back on this win and go, it was even better than we even think it is. So a nice win, especially coming off of finals week.
All right, folks, from the Hawkeye of the Storm, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and as you see on the bottom line there, catch the podcast version of this show as well as our weekly podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Anchor, wherever you listen to your podcast. Gary, it's been a pleasure as always, and we're happy to be able to finally talk about a win. It's been a while.
There you go. Yeah, no doubt.
All right, for Coach Gary Close, I'm Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We'll talk to you soon.